let's go ahead and jump into another call from Bernard in New York. Bernard, what do you have for us?
Yes, hello. My name is Bernard.
Hey, what's on your mind?
I want to express my opinion that the Old Testament had to be written by a superior being and not by a person. And that would sort of like prove there must be a God, because there's something here in the Old Testament that's not feasible to think that a person could have written it. I'm talking.
Yeah, I mean, certainly one person couldn't have. If they did, I would hope that they would catch a lot of their textual errors and a lot of those confusions.
Even a group of people. It couldn't be written by a human being, and I'll explain why. And
Okay.
if you look in Numbers 14, it talks over there about what animals we're allowed to eat and what we're not allowed to eat. And they say that the animals that we're allowed to eat are only those that have split hooves and eat their cud. I don't know how to say it in English. They have they rejuvenate. They eat the cud, bring it back, and eat it again, whatever it is. Those
okay, so Numbers chapter 14 has some restrictions on what people ought to eat, and that proves that it was written by a supernatural being, because why?
No, 1 second.
Okay.
Not that alone. Those are the two signs. And then it says that that there are three animals that don't have split hooves. I mean, that have a split, that don't have split hooves, but they rejuvenate. They have they eat their cud. I don't know how you say it in English. Right?
Yeah, I'm not overly worried about the specifics of these rules. I'm trying to understand how the existence of these rules is evidence of the existence of God.
No, not the existence of the rule. The existence of how do you know? For instance, it says that the pig is the only animal that has split hooves and doesn't have the other sign of cud.
Bernard, I really don't mean to push the fast forward button, but I do want to know, is this conversation going to eventually lead to the people at the time had no possible way of knowing that this would be good for their diet?
No, not that it's good for the diet. There's no possible way that the people in that time, any person in that time, would know that the pig is the only animal with split hooves that doesn't have the other sign, and that there are three other animals that have the other sign and don't have split hooves. How would he know that? Until to this day, another animal with split hooves, like the pig, that doesn't have the other sign is not found. Nobody ever.
The other sign?
Like that. Now, who would know that that's the only animal?
I'm sorry. What two signs is it? So the split hooves, and then what's the other one? Sorry, I got lost in the meandering. What's the other sign?
I'm not sure how to say it in English. That we eat its cud. The food that it eats, it sort of like brings it back up and eats it again. So
okay.
You can read it in English. If you read it in English, it'll tell you exactly in English how it is. I'm reading the Hebrew here, so I don't know how to split it in English. But
okay. Well, so regardless of these things that we can actually just observe by looking at pigs, because that's how we figured out that they do those things. There's a lot of anachronisms that are contained in the Old Testament that seem to invalidate this whole godly inspiration for the Old Testament. Like, for instance, when Joshua invaded. What's that one town? The walls of Jericho. When Jacob or Joshua invaded Jericho and brought down the walls, do you know that archaeology actually places the walls of Jericho falling, like, I think it's like 1,000 years before Joshua supposedly did it? And so that makes it, when the story was circulating and the time frame that it was about, Joshua literally just had to walk into a barren, destroyed city And so that is not at all anything that the Bible recalls. And then you could also go to Exodus. There's no archaeological evidence or historical evidence for a massive exodus of Jews from Egypt, let alone there being a massive slave force of Jews in Egypt that then escaped, So, I mean, none of that is actually proved. The current mainstream historical, I'll get to my final point here in a second. The final mainstream consensus of Hebrew Bible scholars is that none of the patriarchs actually existed. They are all metaphorical constructions of people in order to tell a fictionalized history of the Jewish people. So I don't know. What do you have to say about that?
What I have to say is the fact that there's no evidence doesn't mean it didn't happen. That's not
no, but it does mean that you can't prove that it did. It
right,
does mean
and
that
we
you
can't
can't
use
prove
that as evidence for the existence of a supernatural God, which was the claim that you came in to prove to us.
If I can prove that it couldn't be written by a person, it must have been written by some what do you call it? The only person. No, for instance, here with the animals, the only one that would know that the pig is the only animal that has only the one sign of the split hooves and not the other, and any other animal doesn't have it, that would only be the one that created the animals would know that. Who else would know that? There's no way.
I mean, I don't feel like you've sufficiently proven it to me that there's only one animal that meets these two requirements. And some of that may have to do with the quality of our connection and the quality of our language barriers and some of the background noises that we're trying to sort through as we're listening to you. But I'm not there with you yet.
I'm saying that there's 3,000 years ago this was said, this was written, and ever since then, no other animal with split hooves without the other sign has been found. In other words,
I hear you making that claim that the pig is the only animal that had these two signs, but I'm still really struggling with how that connects us to the existence of God.
Explaining that the one that wrote in the Old Testament that the pig is the only animal that has split hooves and doesn't have the other sign of regerves, whatever the thing is in English. How to say it? I don't know how to say it. But the only one that's the only animal, and no other animal was ever found even since then to have that thing. The only the split hooves without the what do you call it? Is
the hippopotamus.
The only one that would absolutely know that is the one that created it.
Do you think? What about the hippopotamus? The hippopotamus was in Egypt at that time. Like they would have been in the rivers, like of Egypt. The hippopotamus is also a split, like the split.
But I don't know. Split completely the way the what do you call it is. I don't think it is.
Okay, yeah. We could go special pleading if you wanted to. I mean, that kind of seems like the way that you want to go about it. But I mean, special pleading is not any kind of way to build like a successful argument for your God. But so like there's pig and related species. So there's pecaries, which are New World pigs that also follow this path right here that you're talking about. Warthogs and African wild pigs, which are still pigs. I'll give you that. But I mean, there's a hippopotamus and all these different variations of pigs.
Fine. So the variations of pigs is the same as a pig. I guess it's from the same family, maybe. But hippopotamus will surely not be. And I don't think that has the split hooves that it says by the pig.
It doesn't. The fact that the hippopotamus fits your criteria here and is not mentioned by God seems to disprove your God, or at least your argument. Not disprove your God. Sorry, it disproves your argument.
How does it fit the criteria? You're saying
it's a split-hooved animal that doesn't chew cud, like you were talking about. Yeah, unless I misunderstood that. Did I misunderstand that?
I'm not sure that it has split hooves the way the pig has.
I'm verifying for you that it does have split hooves.
It does have split hooves, and I'm not sure.
It does have split hooves and it does not chew cud.
The hippopotamus.
How does that fact make you feel, Bernard? Like, you don't have to take our word for it. You can certainly grab your encyclopedia or talk to a veterinarian or whoever else when we're done here. But if that's true, if there is a animal that kind of blows apart your argument here, what does that mean for you?
Right. Well, that'll be a very, very powerful argument against me. I agree, but I don't think that is the case.
Okay, well, I mean, none of us here are biologists. I don't have any hippos in front of me for us to inspect. I believe that Godless Engineer can like look that up on the fly and come back with this information, and then you can choose whether or not to accept it. But what does that mean for you? You know, how does it feel to recognize that at least this justification for God probably doesn't hold up?
Well, if it doesn't hold up, that'll be a problem. But I have to make sure that it doesn't hold up. According to me,
can you just entertain the possibility that this particular argument for God doesn't make any sense, and talk to me about how that makes you feel or what that means for your life?
Well, first of all, I'm not agreeing with you that that's the case.
Sure. Hypothetical.
So I'm saying, right? So I don't. There's nothing to talk about unless I find out for sure.
Okay, I'm ready to wrap up the call, and I really just wanted to give you a moment to imagine with us and to kind of sit with the possibility, maybe even the thought experiment that this is a readily disprovable belief system that you've come to. You know, I mean, I can tell you that my producer is right now sending us messages full of examples of why this argument for God doesn't make sense if you have any fluency in biology. Personally, I don't. I am not familiar with the important distinctions between pigs and hippopotamuses and all of these kinds of ideas, but I would kind of wager that maybe you don't either. And I wonder what it means that at least one part of your belief in a God is based on biology that's pretty readily disprovable. If it were readily disprovable, I understand that you haven't conceded that.
I would like to hear it be disproved. I'm not sure that I'm not the only one that knows anything about a hippopotamus. And,
Bernard, Bernard, I've affirmed to you that they have split hooves and they do not chew the cud, just like you had claimed about the pigs. So, like, I get that you're not going to accept that, and that's perfectly fine. Go and I guess look up hippopotamus facts.
I'm going to look into it. I will definitely look into this. No, I'm not saying that.
The last question I want to ask you then, Bernard, before I let you go, is if you go and look into this, if you talk to an expert, if you find out for yourself through means that you absolutely trust and appreciate that, in fact, hippopotamus do hit these criteria, what happens next? What does that mean to you?
That would be a big problem.
Okay, well, fair enough. I hope that you'll wrestle with that problem, and I hope that you'll seek out, some community support and whatever it means for you to embrace or work through that challenge.
And let's say the opposite of the true is true, and it ends up that the pig is the only one. Would that mean anything for you?
Honestly, no, because it just means that there is this one animal that meets these two criteria. It doesn't, to me, prove that these criteria were designed by somebody who is all-knowing and all-powerful.
How does the one that wrote it know that? That's what I meant.
Well, I have no idea. People write things all the time that end up being true or not true, and none of them have been God as far as I know.
And also, I feel like you're asking, Bernard, I feel like you're asking, how could anybody know this but God? But literally, you can just observe these things. You can observe what animals have split hooves, and then you can also observe their eating habits. So I'm not exactly sure what is required for, a cosmic wizard in order to know these things. Like, you can just easily observe these things.
Know that it's the only one. To know that it's the only one, that's the first thing you can observe a pig and see what it is. I'm just saying, how would you know it's the only one? The only one that can know that would be the one that created them, because a person can't know that that's the only one in the whole animal kingdom. You know, who knows the whole animal kingdom by himself?
So Bernard, let me leave you with this. Do you know every animal that has ever existed ever on the face of the earth?
No, I don't.
Okay, then there's probably another animal out there that meets your criteria. There's probably another animal out there that meets your criteria, and that animal is the hippopotamus.
You say it's the hippopotamus. I'm going to look into that.
All right. Well, please do. And take good care of yourself as you work to wrestle with that, and ask yourself some curious questions. What does this mean to me? How do I feel about this? What do I do about it? I appreciate you giving us a call and checking in. And I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope that you keep digging.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.